Your parents are also human. They were just trying to figure it out when they were young. They did the best that they could.
Being a mom is a lot. We're holding so much. I'll go first. What was your mom like, Mama? We were sitting on the floor in the living room with two large brown boxes full of photo albums. They were stuffed with real photos you'd take with film and hope they turned out. I remember eagerly waiting a whole week to pick them up at the photo shop at Superstore. She loved kids. She would have spoiled you rotten. I had cleaned up the last items from my late grandma's room at her care home. Lao Lao is Mom's mom in Mandarin. Her clothes, furniture, and most other things went to the thrift shop. What came home with me were those treasured photo albums. They contained photos of our surprise Christmas road trip to Disneyland and Universal Studios when I was 9. My mom answering the phone at the pizza shop, taking orders during the dinner rush. Us standing in awe together under a canopy of cherry blossoms on a long street. Timeless stories I would never hear again. We flipped through my baby photo album and my daughter innocently asked, "How come there aren't many photos of you with your mom or dad when you were little? Are they in a different album?" "Because I didn't spend much time with them," I said. "What do you mean?" She turned to face me with a puzzled look. I could no longer hear her as I picked up a professional photo of my high school graduation. One of the last moments the three of us were together as a complete family unit. She's been gone 15 years now, and as much as I tried to feel my emotions, the deep sadness wasn't there when I looked at my mother's face. And instead, I felt guilt. Guilt that I didn't feel more grief about her no longer being a part of my life. But the other emotion underneath was relief. Before you misunderstand me, I don't mean relief that she had passed, but that I could stop trying to repair a bond that was never built. I don't have much memory of the first 6 years of my life, where I was passed around from my paternal grandmother to my adoptive paternal grandparents to my maternal grandparents, from city to city across the country. When I was 16 months old, my dad went abroad to study in Canada. A year later, he came back for a short 2-month visit, and I didn't see him again until I was 6 years old. The government used me as leverage in an attempt to keep our family in China by letting my mom go to Canada when I was 3 years and 9 months old, but not me. She recorded cassette tapes of me talking and singing and a message for my dad. I didn't see her again until I was 6 years old. Lao Lao became my mom during that time. My mom later shared the story about her traveling to Beijing to secure her visa for Canada. She told me she was going to work in the morning and didn't come home for a week. When she burst through the door upon her return and knelt down with arms wide open, inviting me in for an embrace, I hid behind Lao Lao's legs and wouldn't go to her. Weeks later, she would leave for years. My fondest memory of growing up with Lao Lao was waking up not long after sunrise, getting dressed, brushing my teeth, and grabbing a steamed bun on my way out the door. I would walk through the web of apartment buildings, down the bigger streets to the park, where Lalau led the morning Tai Chi and group exercise classes. We danced and laughed, and everyone knew me by name as her sweet granddaughter. My birth name, Xiao, means to smile, to laugh. Lalau took care of me when I had chicken pox and lay in bed for days. I remember feeling content and cared for, despite the awful feeling of being sick. She took me to weekly communal baths, where she'd let me sit in a hot tub-sized bathing pool and ask me to scrub her back. My kids still ask me why I scrub myself the way I do, and I'd say, it's the way Lalau taught me. A year and a half after my mom passed, Lalau had a stroke. It affected her memory and cognition, and she was never the same beloved grandma I remembered while growing up. Ultimately, I lost both of my moms within a year and a half of one another. I flew home from Australia and visited 8 different care homes before settling on one close to Lalau's apartment and community. At the same time, I moved my grandpa to the assisted living side at the same facility. Years later, after Grandpa had also left us, she declined drastically during the pandemic, and breaking her hip only accelerated the decline. I witnessed her last breath, then cleaned out her room. The photo albums I packed up to take home were the same ones I packed up in my mom's house 11 years before, leaving my grieving aside and instead dealing with logistics. Beginning in early 2010, my mom battled cancer for 15 months with 2 rounds of chemo. I was newly 26 and head of the household, taking care of my grandparents at the same time. From researching and reading books in hopes of finding something to save her, to making coffee enemas and inserting suppositories, I wore many hats. The week before moving her into a hospice, I was her nurse, waking up every 2 hours to give her pain medication and only half sleeping in between to check if she was still breathing. At her bedside, I gave her my all. But the bond was never there. During a coaching call in early 2021, I was asked to visualize the cord connecting me with my mom. I only saw the cord attached to a concrete wall in a dungeon. Instead of being wrapped in warmth and safety, it felt cold in the dimly lit, damp box. There was no escaping the solid cage. No amount of my doing and giving would ever reach her, because the wall was built in those first 6 years of my life. Watching my mom take her last breath led to the funeral and burial ceremony, moving my grandparents to an apartment after the sale of the house. So many logistics. But I don't grieve my mother. I grieve the bond I never got to have with her, and the daughter I never got to be. It was only in a recent counseling session that I realized I had buried the grief from Lalau's passing long ago. For most of my adult life, I took care of everyone else. I never once set it down to grieve her departure. I was too busy taking care of my husband and homeschooling the kids. Just like I was taking care of my grandparents when my mom passed. And now I'm sitting in the pain and grief. Most days, it slips by me. But sometimes, like the night Lalau came through with a nudge to start this podcast, The tears come, and I finally allow them. That's the unhurried practice. Feeling what I've put off feeling for so long. Mama, are you okay? She reached her hand over onto my leg. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. She sat there, photo album open on her thighs, feet relaxed out to the side, waiting for more. It's, could you ever imagine your life without Papa or me around for your first years? Oh, no, I don't think so. My life would have been so different. All those photos on your phone, they wouldn't be there. That was me. I looked back down at the photos. I'm sad for you. Me too, sweetie. You've been here too, haven't you? You're the one who handled everything so you wouldn't have to feel the pain. When the logistics stop distracting you, life feels like it goes back to normal, as if nothing happened. But no matter what anyone else does, they can't take the pain away. Before you close this episode, what keeps you from sitting with your grief? Send this to the one mom in your life who needs the room you just walked through. Next time, we walk into the room of the mother I'm becoming.